Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India News Hour, India's voice to the world. I'm Prasar Bharati. Coming up in the next hour. White House race on a knife edge with 2 days to go. Harris outlines her to-do list. Trump urges voters to save America. Iran leader vows retaliatory response to Israel. US warns Iran won't be able to restrain Israel if it attacks again. Spain mounts biggest peacetime disaster recovery operation as death toll reaches 213. Anger grows over slow response to floods. India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar to begin 6-day visit to Australia and Singapore, aim to boost bilateral ties and explore more avenues. Updates on US presidential polls first. Both Kamala Harris and Donald Trump campaigned in North Carolina on the final weekend before the November 5 polls. It was the 4th day in a row that the candidates campaigned in the same state. Republican presidential candidate Donald Trump campaigned in both North Carolina, a key swing state, and Virginia on Saturday, where he reinforced his message on the economy and immigration. Trump, at his final rally of the day in North Carolina, told voters that the November 5th election will be Liberation Day in America.
The United States is now an occupied country, but it will soon be an occupied country no longer. On November 5th, 2024, this will be Liberation Day in America. It's going to be liberation.
Later, addressing a rally in Virginia's Salem, Trump said he ran for office to rescue the economy from obliteration. Trump also addressed trans issues and vowed to protect parents' rights in Virginia rally, and North Carolina backed Trump in 2020 by a narrow margin of less than 1.5 percentage points and elected a Democratic governor on the same day, giving hope to both parties. Democratic presidential candidate Kamala Harris began her North Carolina rally by attacking Donald Trump, which she has increasingly done in the final days of the election. Harris at the rally zeroed in on women's reproductive rights, warning that Trump will ban abortion nationwide. Harris also pledged to lower health care costs and accused Trump of wanting to repeal the Affordable Care Act. Earlier, campaigning in Atlanta, Harris said Trump would abuse his power if he returns to the White House.
Not done, he would ban abortion nationwide, he would restrict access to birth control, he would put IVF treatments at risk, and get this, force states to monitor women's pregnancies. Just Google Project 2025, which still I can't believe they put in writing. And I think everyone here knows one does not have to abandon their faith or deeply held beliefs to agree. The government shouldn't be telling her what to do. Not the government and not Donald Trump.
The Democratic presidential candidate later appeared on the Saturday Night Live TV comedy show, adding a surprise jolt to the US presidential election just 3 days before her showdown with Republican Donald Trump. It was Harris's first time on the show, which has had other presidential candidates over its decades-long run. Trump appeared during his first presidential bid in 2015, where he poked fun at his tendency to exaggerate and steer clear of policy specifics. He also appeared in 2004, long before he entered politics. US President Joe Biden returned to his childhood hometown in Pennsylvania on Saturday for a final campaign stop in support of Vice President Kamala Harris. The president rallied union workers in the town where he grew up before his family moved to Delaware. Biden expressed his pride in having been the first president to walk a picket line and their efforts to restore pensions, and said that Kamala Harris shared his views on hardworking people. Several Women's March protesters gathered in Washington, D.C. to rally for Vice President Kamala Harris ahead of upcoming presidential polls. Hundreds marched from Freedom Plaza towards White House in Washington and across the country in support of Harris. The women supporters shared their reasons for backing Harris, citing her commitment to women's rights, human rights and democracy. Supporters of Republican nominee and former President Donald Trump hit the road for a car parade in Maricopa County, Arizona on Saturday, with Trump flags flying and cars decorated with campaign merchandise. The parade took off from Morristown and drove to Phoenix, some 90 kilometers, honking and cheering all the while. As the election is 2 days away, those voting for Trump encourage fellow Republicans and undecided voters to cast their ballots. U.S. Democratic presidential candidate Kamala Harris has surpassed Republican Donald Trump in a new poll in Iowa. The poll of 808 likely voters who were surveyed October 28 to 31st has Harris leading Trump 47-44 in Iowa, which has been trending deeply Republican in recent years. It is within the 3.4 percentage point margin of error, but it marked a turnaround from a September Iowa poll that had Trump with a 4-point lead. Trump won Iowa in his past two presidential campaigns by more than 9 percentage points in 2016 and 8 points in 2020. More than 75 million Americans have already cast ballots, according to the election lab at the University of Florida, in a sign of voter enthusiasm. Age is no bar for public service and political ambition. My colleague Shubhendu Ghosh caught up with one of the youngest candidates in the US elections, Ashwin Ramaswamy, who is running for Georgia State Senate. An Indian American, just 25 years of age, Ashwin talks about his roots, cybersecurity in elections and Trump-Harris contest.
Ashwin Ramaswamy, welcome to DD India.
Thanks for having me.
You're 25 years old. How did you decide to start so young, and what is your focus in these elections?
I decided to start because I wanted to serve my community. I was born and brought up right here in Johns Creek, a suburb of Atlanta. My parents came here from South India, from Tamil Nadu, in the early 90s. I worked in the federal government for a few years on cybersecurity and election security. And I realized last year that the best way for me to next serve my community is to come back home and to make sure that our state is investing in education, ensure we're passing gun safety laws, making sure everyone has access to healthcare. And that's why I decided to run.
What can you share about your experience of engaging with people politically?
People are not just thinking about the normal boundaries of politics.
Right.
They realize that I represent a new generation of people. And regardless of what party you're in, we need young people to step up and serve our community. Because I grew up here, there's a lot of connections with people in other communities too. Because I went to school here. People know me. They say, oh, Ashwin went to school with my kids. Or I was involved in a community organization. So second generation immigrants like me who were born and brought up in the United States are able to connect with these different communities and really make the change we want to see.
How potent are these threats of cyber attacks? And in the context of presidential elections, such a high-stake election, how resilient is the system?
What I did realize, though, after 2020 was our biggest threat to our elections is not just foreign hackers. It's actually domestic politicians lying about the results.
How close do you think the contest is going to be? And your take on what strengths and challenges do the candidates bring in to the contest?
I mean, I would say ultimately this election, it's very close. It's still a toss-up. But the momentum is on the Harris-Walz ticket. And the reason is because there's a choice being presented to the American people. Whether it's Kamala Harris, who's representing the future, investing in our future, investing in education, healthcare, protecting our freedoms, whether it's reproductive healthcare, gun safety to protect children in schools. Down ballot candidates like me can turn out more people and get them engaged in the political process. And this is happening across the country. So long as we continue to do our work, we continue to do the right thing and tell the truth, I know that we will win.
Ashwin Ramaswamy, thank you very much for speaking with DD India. That was Ashwin, one of the youngest candidates in these elections, talking about his candidature, key issues in focus, and of course the big contest, Donald Trump versus Kamala Harris. With camera person Jai Shankar, Shubhendu Ghosh for DD India in Atlanta.
With the contest in the swing states very close between Kamala Harris and Donald Trump, even a small percentage of votes can tip the balance. Indian Americans are present in substantial numbers in crucial swing states like Michigan, North Carolina and Pennsylvania, and they could significantly influence the election outcome. Community leaders are impressing upon the community to come out and vote in large numbers, as their vote could be crucial in deciding who wins the White House. DD India correspondent Amritpal Singh talked to Dr. K.A. Paul, an activist in Philadelphia who is close to both parties. He explains on how Indians are in a fix in this presidential elections.
With me, Dr. K.A. Paul. He's an activist, an Indian American. What are you telling the Indian Americans, because you work closely with them in this election? What role do you see them playing?
India has an opportunity to make history. Number one, every Indian, 3 to 4 million voters in America, should come out and cast your vote and influence others who is not voting. Oh, my vote doesn't count. Remember, year 2000, George Bush won by 532 votes. And last two elections, Trump won in 2020 with only Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, 45,000 votes, even though 81 million were cast. And Biden won with these same three swing states. So casting your vote is the most important thing.
Which way are the Indians swinging, Dr. Paul, given that Kamala Harris has an Indian connection, but Donald Trump is also a friend of India?
Here it is. Donald Trump's vice president wife is from my hometown, Visakhapatnam. So I have relation there. And Donald is a good friend for years. But Kamala Harris is our half Indian sister. So that is why this time, for the first time in 1992, Bill Clinton, I'm not openly endorsing.
So is it a tough call for the Indians?
Very tough call. Why? Because people love Donald Trump, because he loves India and he talks favorably and meets Prime Minister Modi many times and all that. But Kamala, I say, hey, I'm Indian. I count on your vote. So there is a saying, if you go front, if you go backwards, you're caught between in the hard rock.
Okay. So it's a tough call for the Indians. They are divided.
But Indians will make the difference between India and America relations. We got to play the most important role of our lifetime, because India should lead.
What happens if there's not a clear winner, and what's your message to the Indian Americans and the Americans in general?
That is why I am calling for peace, fair and free elections. Because the Republicans think election is going to be rigged, like January 6, 2021. What we have seen at the Capitol. Democrats think there will be a terrible violence, worse than 2021 Trump time.
So that's what everybody's thinking here on everybody's mind, is that what if there is not a clear verdict? Would it then go down to the wire? What sort of a situation would emerge then? With cameraman Sanjay Jaina, this is Amritpal Singh for DD India in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
And still to come on DD India News Hour. Russia, Ukraine accuse each other of obstructing prisoner of war swaps. Bangladeshi Hindus really seeking protection from attacks and false charges. Moldovans voting in a pivotal presidential runoff.
Welcome to Jaipur.
You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Siddharth Bharadwaj. Tensions continue to escalate in West Asia, with Iranian Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei vowing a response to Israeli airstrikes on Iran. According to a report in Axios, US has warned Iran against launching another attack on Israel, adding that Washington will not be able to restrain Israel if Tehran attacks again. On October 26, Israeli airstrikes hit military sites in Iran in retaliation to the October 1st Iranian rocket attacks on Israel.
The enemies, both the USA and the Zionist regime, should know that they will definitely receive a tooth-breaking response to what they are doing against Iran, the Iranian nation, and the resistance front.
Israel has captured a senior Hezbollah operative from the Lebanese coastal city of Batron. According to the Israeli army, the operative serves as an expert in his field. Now on your screens is a CCTV footage obtained by Reuters, which purportedly shows Israeli naval forces capturing a person who has not been officially identified. Calling it the kidnapping of a Lebanese citizen, Lebanese Prime Minister Najib Mikati has called for an investigation into the incident. Meanwhile, the Israeli military said it had killed Jafar Khadar Faur, a commander of Hezbollah's Nasser Brigade rocket unit in southern Lebanon. It added that he had been responsible for multiple attacks on Israel since October 2023. Lebanon's health ministry has said that one person was killed in an Israeli strike on Hezbollah's South Beirut stronghold. The area has been cordoned off by the Lebanese army and security forces. As the fighting between Israel and Hezbollah escalates, hopes for a US-backed ceasefire have faded. A Russian drone attack has triggered a fire in Ukraine's capital Kiev. The city and its surrounding region have been under air raid alerts. The attack came as Ukraine's top commander said that the country's forces are restraining one of Russia's most powerful offensives. On Saturday, Moscow said it has taken 2 more settlements along the Donbas front line. Kyiv called on Moscow on Sunday to provide a list of Ukrainian prisoners of war ready for a swap after Russia accused Ukraine of sabotaging the exchange process. Kyiv and Moscow have frequently exchanged prisoners since Russia's conflict with its smaller neighbor in 2022. The last swap took place in mid-October, with each side bringing home 95 prisoners. On Saturday, Russian Foreign Ministry spokeswoman Maria Zakharova said that Ukraine was essentially sabotaging the process and has refused to take back its own citizens. Zakharova said Russia's defense ministry had offered to hand over 935 Ukrainian prisoners of war, but that Ukraine had taken only 279. Ukraine in turn said was always ready to accept its citizens and accused Russia of slowing down the exchange process. The world's biggest nature conservation conference closed in Colombia on Saturday with no agreement on a roadmap to ramp up funding for species protection. With other successes under its belt, the 16th Conference of Parties, COP16, to the UN's Convention on Biological Diversity was suspended by its president, Susana Mohammed, as negotiations ran almost 12 hours longer than planned and will resume at a later date to consider outstanding issues. The conference include placing 30% of land and sea areas under protection and 30% of degraded ecosystems under restoration by 2030, reducing pollution and phasing out agricultural and other subsidies harmful to nature. For this purpose, it was agreed in 2022 that $200 billion per year be made available to protect biodiversity by 2030, including the transfer of $30 billion per year from rich to poor nations. The biggest ask from the summit to lay out a detailed funding plan turned out to be a bridge too far. Days after torrential rain swept the eastern region of Valencia in Spain, cleanup and rescue efforts continued throughout on Saturday. The historic flash floods in Spain have killed at least 214 people till now, and dozens were still unaccounted. Spain's Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez said the government would provide the necessary resources, including sending 10,000 more troops and police officers to help with the search operation and cleanup process. The tragedy is already Europe's worst flood-related disaster since 1967, which killed at least 500 people in Portugal. Frustration and anger among despairing Spain residents continue to grow at the state's response on handling the devastating floods that had destroyed towns in eastern Spain. On Saturday, Spain Prime Minister Pedro Sánchez conceded the response has been insufficient as he announced the deployment of 10,000 extra soldiers and police officers. According to the latest toll, Valencia's catastrophic flood had killed at least 214 and left dozens missing. Clashes between the Bolivian authorities and former president of Bolivia, Evo Morales, continues to escalate as the foreign ministry said that supporters of Morales have detained at least 200 military personnel hostage in Chapare. This comes as Morales supporters began blocking roads for weeks in Cochabamba to prevent his arrest. Evo Morales has been accused of rape and human trafficking charges. On Friday, after Morales announced that he would undertake a hunger strike unless government agreed to negotiations, urged his supporters to consider suspending the roadblocks. Morales and current President Luis Arce have gone from close allies to bitter rivals in recent months as they jockey for position ahead of next year's presidential election. Tens of thousands of Hindus rallied in Bangladesh, urging the interim government to protect minorities against attacks and drop sedition charges against Hindu leaders. United Nations Human Rights Chief Volker Turk visited Dhaka this week and said Bangladesh court needs reform before the trial of former Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina begins. More in this report.
Sedition cases filed against Hindu leaders in Bangladesh have raised concerns over safety of minority in the country. On Friday, torch procession was held in Dhaka to demand better treatment of minorities in the country. While in Chattogram, Sanatan Jagran Manch held a massive rally and demanded withdrawal of false cases. These cases were filed against 19 people, including Chinmoy Krishnadas Brahmachari of International Society for Krishna Consciousness. The platform issued a 2-day ultimatum and threatened to launch a series of protests if the case is not withdrawn by coming Monday. In view of current political development in Bangladesh, United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights recently visited Bangladesh. High Commissioner Turk urged that the protests, which highlighted demands for human rights, accountability and social justice, must be met with meaningful reforms.
I found the interim government to be aware of the problems with the proceedings in the International Criminal Tribunal in the past. My office has provided comments on amending the ICT law to bring it into line with international standards and to ensure the right to fair trial and that justice is served without compromising due process.
Hindu groups reported an increase in attacks since early August, following the ousting of Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina. Earlier, former President of the United States, Donald Trump, condemned the barbaric attack on minorities in Bangladesh. In July, Bangladesh witnessed student-led protests against public sector job quotas. The unrest was some of the deadliest since the country's independence in 1971, resulting in over 1,000 deaths and numerous injuries, many of them among protesting university and college students. Aman Kumar Himanshu's report for DD India.
Moldovans vote on Sunday in a presidential runoff that has been overshadowed by election meddling allegations and could see Moscow gain more influence in a diplomatic battleground between Russia and the European Union. The outcome of the vote is likely to set the tone for next summer's parliamentary elections, where pro-Western incumbent Sandu's ruling party is expected to struggle to retain its majority and which will determine the stripe of future government. Let's take a look at other stories making news around the world. Migrant families reunited for the Hugs Not Walls event on the Mexico-US border on Saturday. The event aimed to highlight the human impact of immigration policy. The event, organized by the Border Network for Human Rights, was first held in 2016. Thousands of citizens gathered for a night vigil in northern Serbia to mourn the death of 14 people due to railway station roof collapse. The incident happened on Friday at the main train station in the northern city of Novi Sad. Authorities declared Saturday as a national day of mourning. The Royal Armed Forces Air Base in Marrakesh, Morocco hosted the 7th edition of the International Aviation and Space Exhibition titled Marrakesh Air Show 2024, highlighting Morocco's growing position in the global aviation industry. Thousands gathered at Stockholm's Sågskärkå Garden Cemetery to honor All Saints' Day by lighting candles on graves. The tradition takes place annually on the first Saturday of November. Hundreds of performers and spectators took part in the traditional Celtic festival in Edinburgh. The festival marks the end of the old Celtic year and the beginning of the new year, where the spirits of the dead are passed on to the next world. And still to come on DD India News Hour. Delhi's air quality continues to deteriorate as thick layer of smog engulfed the national capital. Centre initiates probe into death of 10 elephants in Madhya Pradesh's Bandhavgarh Tiger Reserve. Indian Railways making adequate arrangement for festive rush.
स्वागत आहे टू मैग्नेटिक महाराष्ट्र. Share in the richness of Maharashtra as one family, united by the collective vision of building a better tomorrow.
You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Siddharth Bharadwaj, and a quick recap of headlines. White House race on a knife edge with 2 days to go. Harris outlines her to-do list. Trump urges voters to save America. Iran leader vows retaliatory response to Israel. US warns Iran won't be able to restrain Israel if it attacks again. Spain mounts biggest peacetime disaster recovery operation as death toll reaches 213. Anger grows over slow response to floods. India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar to begin 6-day visit to Australia and Singapore, aim to boost bilateral ties and explore more avenues. New Delhi will host the Asian Buddhist Summit on November 5 to 6, 2024, organized by India's Ministry of Culture in collaboration with the International Buddhist Confederation. This will be the first Asian Buddhist Summit to be held in India. President of India, Draupadi Murmu, will attend as chief guest of the Asian Buddhist Summit. The theme of this visit is Role of Buddha Dhamma in Strengthening Asia. The summit aligns with India's Act East policy, promoting collective and spiritual development across Asia. The Asian Buddhist Summit in New Delhi will feature a special exhibition, India as the Dhamma Setu, showcasing India's role as a spiritual bridge across Asia. India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar to begin his 5-day visit to Australia and Singapore. During the visit, Jaishankar will travel to Brisbane and inaugurate India's 4th consulate in Australia. EAM will also co-chair the 15th Foreign Ministers Framework Dialogue with Australian Foreign Minister Penny Wong in Canberra. The minister will deliver the keynote address at the inaugural session of the 2nd Raisina Down Under to be held in the Australian Parliament House. EAM is also scheduled to have interactions with Australian leadership, parliamentarians, members of the Indian diaspora, business community, media and think tanks. On the second leg of the visit, EAM will travel to Singapore for an official visit on 8th of November, during which he will address the 8th Roundtable of ASEAN, India network of think tanks. He will also meet the leadership of Singapore to review the close partnership between the two countries and explore avenues to further enhance the bilateral relationship. Delhi Air Quality Index continues to deteriorate as it crossed the 500 mark on Sunday, 2 days after Diwali. Even on Sunday morning, Delhiites woke up to a thick layer of smog as air pollution level now lies in the alarming hazardous category in the national capital, which is detrimental to the health of people living in Delhi and its adjoining areas. Shockingly, Delhi's air is getting worse every day despite all possible measures such as the Graded Response Action Plan already being implemented in the national capital. The Commission for Air Quality Management ordered the implementation of the Graded Response Action Plan in Delhi NCR on October 21st after the overall air quality index dropped to very poor category in the region. After the Diwali celebrations, North Indian state of Himachal Pradesh has shown promising air quality results with air quality index in Shimla remains comfortably below 50. Tourists visiting the Queen of Hills, Shimla, are taking notice of the healthier environment, praising the fresh air, scenic beauty and cleanliness. The other cities across the Himalayan state also experiencing normal to good levels. Environment experts are crediting a growth awareness of green Diwali practices and an increasing shift toward using green crackers for the improvement. Centre has initiated an independent inquiry into the death of 10 jumbos in Bandhavgarh Tiger Reserve and said preventive measures are being taken by officials to avoid such incidents in the future. Referring to preliminary information shared by Madhya Pradesh government, the ministry on Saturday said the death may be because of poisoning, but the final cause will only be ascertained after a thorough inquiry, detailed autopsy reports, results of histopathological and toxicological reports and other corroborative evidences. Earlier on Tuesday, patrolling staff at the Tiger Reserve initially found 4 elephants dead in the Sala Khania beat of Kitauli and Patwar core ranges. 6 other pachyderms were also found in a critical state. By Thursday, the death toll mounted to 10, of which one was male and rest all females. Further, amongst the dead elephants, 6 were juvenile, subadults and 4 adults. Indian Space Research Organisation has started the country's first analog space mission at Leh in North India's Ladakh, where Space Agency will simulate life in an interplanetary habitat. The move assumes significance as India is planning to send a human to the moon in the near future. Analog space missions are field tests in location on Earth that have physical similarities to extreme space environments and play a significant role in problem solving for spaceflight research. Ladakh has been chosen for such a mission as the geographical features of the area, dry and cold climate, barren land, high altitude terrain and extreme isolation are considered to closely resemble Martian and lunar landscapes. Let's take a look at other stories making news. The portals of Kedarnath temple closed for the winter season today. The portals were closed with Vedic rituals and religious traditions amidst chants of Om Namah Shivaya, Jai Baba Kedar and devotional tunes of the Indian Army Band. A large number of devotees gathered in holy city of Ayodhya on Sunday to seek blessings from saints and take a holy dip in the river Saryu on occasion of Bhai Dooj, a festival to celebrate the bond of brothers and sisters. With the festive rush underway, Indian Railways is ensuring that passengers have a safe travel experience and preventing any uncertainty. Special trains and additional coaches introduced to help the commuters reach their native places for the ongoing festivity and the upcoming Chhath celebrations. Still to come on DD India News Hour. India startups surpassed 2023 figure with 2 more months to go. Bournemouth shocks Manchester City, ends 32-match unbeaten run in Premier League. As Mexicans celebrate Day of the Dead, they grapple with what it means to hold on to tradition.
A confluence of spirituality, knowledge and culture. The progenitor of democracy, Bihar holds a special place in India's history. Treasure the journey of enlightenment. Travel the holy circuit trails of multiple faiths. Experience the legacy of ancient India. And an educational lineage that produced some of the greatest luminaries of the time. Discover a multitude of art and craft forms. Savor the true flavors of the land and enjoy the sights and sounds of iconic festivals. Delve deeper into the natural beauty of this land, enriched by the sacred river Ganga. Today, Bihar's infrastructure is at the heart of its transformation. Poised to take a big leap with initiatives in agriculture, education, tourism, and information technology. An ode to a remarkable history. Bihar truly offers a glimpse into a captivating past and vibrant present. Welcome to Bihar.
Who will be the next president of United States of America?
Will Donald Trump make a dramatic comeback, or will Kamala Harris become America's first woman president?
It's a tight race to the White House.
The knives are out and the battle lines sharply drawn.
He's becoming increasingly unstable and unhinged.
She's a threat to democracy because she shouldn't even be the candidate.
I'm Amritpal Singh.
I'm Shubhendu Ghosh.
We travel across the United States
to decode the issues at the heart of this polarized election.
Watch this space only on DD India.
You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Siddharth Bharadwaj. And India's startup sector raised $12.2 billion in the first 10 months of 2024, surpassing last year's total funding. Homegrown startups surpassed $1 billion in funding again across 119 in fact deals in the month of October. September saw the second highest funding with $1.63 billion behind the peak of $1.92 billion registered in June. October alone saw over $1 billion secured across 119 deals with $846.2 million from growth and late-stage funding, according to data by The Credible. Recently, the Indian government approved a Rs 1,000 crore venture capital fund to boost the space sector's growth. India's National Mineral Development Corporation set a new production record in October with 4.07 million tons of iron ore produced and 4.03 million tons sold. This marks a 3.8% rise in production and a 17.15% increase in sales compared to October last year, with total production reaching 21.55 million tons this fiscal year. NMDC continues to meet growing demand for iron ore. Enhanced production planning and strong customer demand drove these giants, highlighted NMDC's. In fact, enhanced production planning and strong customer demand drove these gains, highlighting NMDC's focus on sustainable growth. Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese said on Sunday that his government planned to cut student loans for around 3 million Australians by 20%, wiping around $10.49 billion in debts. The move builds on May's budget, which attacked cost of living pressures in Australia and gave debt relief for students, as well as more investment to make medicines cheaper and a boost to rent assistance program. Cost of living pressures, stoked by stubbornly high inflation, have a special resonance with federal election looming and the centre-left Labour government now polling behind their Conservative opponents. You are watching DD India News. Time now for sport, and on to updates from ongoing third day's play of the Mumbai Test between India and New Zealand. India struggling at the moment in their chase of 147 runs set by New Zealand on day 3. India have lost half of their side with still more than 100 runs needed. Ajaz Patel picked up 3 wickets, while Matt Henry and Glenn Phillips picked up 1 wicket each. Earlier, Ravindra Jadeja completed his 10-wicket haul as India bundled out New Zealand for 174. Resuming the day from 171 for 9, Jadeja struck within few minutes and removed Ajaz Patel as Kiwis set a target of 147. In the first innings, India were bowled out for 263, taking a first innings lead of 28 runs. Shubman Gill top scored with 90, while Rishabh Pant slammed 60 runs. In reply, left-arm New Zealand spinner Ajaz Patel picked a 5-wicket haul to bring the visitors back in the game. And DD India correspondent Narayan Singh is joining us with more details. Narayan, hi, a very good morning to you first of all. Certainly, again, this is the third test match. And perhaps we are talking, we have had a conversation in every test match almost. This is the third one. We had high hopes and we were thinking, India will come today and easily chase the target, given the fact that they are very well acclimatized to the pitch, to the conditions, to the red soil, as you had mentioned, and keeping in mind the young talent which is there in the squad right now and under the captaincy of Rohit Sharma. But everything turned upside down. What happened, Narayan? Just tell me.
Good morning, Siddharth. If you talk about this match, definitely it's a setback not only for the Indian cricket team but for the cricket fans who are watching this Indian cricket team, the players, the way they are batting, and especially because never India has been whitewashed in a 3-match test series, and now they are staring down the barrel for a 3-0 clean sweep against the Kiwis team. But we know that in the first test match, after the second test match, now the third test match, the story remains the same. And we can say that it's up to some extent the kind of batting they have displayed here. Today also, I think 147 is not a huge target, despite of the fact that it's the third day only. And the kind of performance they delivered, they should have. We know the experience, the vast experience of the Virat Kohli, Rohit Sharma. They should have spent some time on the pitch, because we know that their presence on the pitch, it also helps the youngster to stay confident and to boost their morale. But we can say that it's the rock bottom of the Indian Test cricket, especially in the Test scenario. We're talking about this New Zealand team. Before that, before this series, they lost a 2-match test series against Sri Lanka, and they are coming back of losing a test series against Sri Lanka, and here they are without Kane Williamson. I think complacency was a factor behind this. We can say this losing this test series, especially because we know that Indian cricket team, we know that people are giving example of it, the kind of performance they delivered in the test match against Bangladesh. After 3 days of the match was wiped out due to rain, they played epic cricket and won that match by 8 wickets in Kanpur. And after that, suddenly there's a dip in the form of the Indian cricket, especially the dip in the form of Rohit Sharma and Virat Kohli. That is, we can say the team is paying heavily for that. So rock bottom. And we know that if India loses today, definitely fans will be not happy with this performance.
Definitely, fans certainly will not be happy, Narayan. But what you've given your analysis, it is the rock bottom. It is certainly the rock bottom which the team is experiencing, and of course the fans in India, because they've never played like this on the home soil. Especially when I talk to you, Narayan, it's 48 for 5. They still need 99 runs to win. But looking at the way they are playing, do you think that it's possible? I mean, especially given the fact that how well New Zealand bowlers are bowling, and they are not able to understand the kind of bowling attack which the New Zealand bowlers are actually making. How do you analyze this?
Last time we were discussing the kind of bowling Santner did. He did maximum damage to the Indian batting lineup in the first 2 matches. And we were also saying that in that match, Azaz Patel was not up to the mark. He was playing the second fiddle to the Mitchell Santner. But right now he's wreaking havoc on the Indian batting lineup. And last time also at the same pitch at the Wankhede, he took 10 wickets, I think so. But the quality, the class of the New Zealand spinners is not equivalent to the Indian spinners like Ravindra Jadeja, R. Ashwin. But despite of that, the Indian bowlers, Indian batsmen are not able to handle the bowlers like Azhar Patel. Definitely it poses a question over the credibility of the Indian batsmen, because we know that the kind of batsmen we have, Rohit Sharma, Virat Kohli, even if you take a look at a youngster like Yashasvi Jaiswal, Shubman Gill, they are the world-class batsmen. They have dominated the world cricket. They won the series, back-to-back series in Australia. And here in the home condition, we know that it is somewhat next to the impossible to beat India in the home condition. If you take a look, the last time India lost a 2-match series. In fact, the whitewashed in the 2-match series was back in 2000 against South Africa, and winning and losing a series against a team like New Zealand in the absence of their key player Kane Williamson. It is not, we can say the fans can digest this thing. What really happening with the Indian team? They forgot to play the spin, because we know that in the subcontinent conditions, our batsmen know how good they are against the spin. But this time the scenario, we can say that a lot has to be done, a lot has to be, we can say that things need to be addressed here.
A lot has to be done. And also, Narayan, this pops up concerns over their chances of playing in the finals of the WTC, because now, from now onwards, they have to win each and every match, which certainly seems not possible, because they'll be going to Australia, they'll be playing against Australia, and that is a very dangerous side as well. And looking at the conditions in Australia, how do you analyze India's chances of playing in WTC final? What they have to do gives a broader perspective of their chances of playing in the WTC final, and will it be possible?
Siddharth, if you take a look at India, still we can say trailing in this match, the conditions are not, we can say, in their favor. And if they lose today's match, definitely it will be next to impossible for the team India to be there in the finals of the WTC. And after that, they will play 5-match series against the Australian team in their own backyard. Definitely, with defeating a team like Australia, by 5-0, whitewashing Australia in Australia is this somewhat we can say the next to the impossible.
Yeah.
And from here, at least without depending on others, India needs to, if they lose today's match, they need to win all the 5 matches down under. And definitely one question that if Washington Sundar can play, he can remain unbeaten. He can play a good knock against these conditions against the Kiwis bowler. Why Virat Kohli, why Rohit Sharma can't do that thing? Even Sarfaraz, it was a chance for him to become a hero. He got chances. Definitely, we can say they are not able to capitalize the chances they are getting. So here still there is a hope for the Indian team because Rishabh Pant is there, Ravindra Jadeja is there. And down the order, we have Washington Sundar, the way he played in the first inning and remained unbeaten there. Ashwin is there with that. But the kind of batting they displayed, we can say that it was quite disappointing for the cricket fans here.
Definitely disappointing batting from the Indian side here. And you said that right, Narayan. Beating Australia in their own backyard seems like a distant dream. But let's hope after this, whatever happens in this particular test match, the graph just goes up and up, and let's hope they come out with flying colours and with better performances when they go down under. Thank you so much. We'll leave it there, Narayan. Bournemouth handed defending champions Manchester City a 2-1 at the Vitality Stadium, ending City's 32-match unbeaten run in Premier League on Saturday. This was also Bournemouth's first ever league win against City, courtesy goals from Antoine Semenyo and Evan Nielsen. City superstar Haaland delivered a blank for the visitors and has now scored only once in his last 4 league outings. Haaland looked uncomfortable in the first half and appeared to be struggling with an injury. Bournemouth boosted their joint killing credentials as they secured a 3rd home victory on the bounce, having beaten Arsenal last time out. City dropped down to 2nd and failed to take advantage of Arsenal's earlier falter, while Bournemouth move up to 8th. A second half comeback from Liverpool saw them return to the Premier League summit with a 2-1 win over Brighton and Hove Albion at Anfield. Liverpool have now won 8 of their 10 Premier League matches under new coach Arne Slot, the most ever by Reds manager in his first 10 top-flight matches in charge of the club. With Arsenal and Manchester City losing, Liverpool are top of the pile on 25 points, 2 clear of their nearest challengers after the opening 10 games, with Brighton on 7th. India's Vanshika Goswami won gold medal in the World Boxing Championship held at Colorado, USA. Goswami defeated Victoria Gutt of Germany in the 80+ kilograms weight class by RSC. Vanshika Goswami, who hails from Jwalamukhi of Kangra district in North Indian state of Himachal Pradesh, is a trainee at Sports Authority of India, Rohtak. Before winding up this edition of News Hour, we take you to Mexico, where people dressed up in Mexico City to participate in parade as part of the Day of the Dead celebrations.
Lucha Reyes. Claro que sí, Lucha Reyes. Un aplauso a la anda, por favor.
Ya. Con 8 diferentes centros penitenciarios en la CDMX. Esta pieza muestra la seccional Hazme Valer, productos penitenciarios. Salió en películas como Esquina Baja de 1948, Una gallega baila mambo.
That's all for this edition of DD India News Hour, but let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms, and you can scan the QR code on the screen to download now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Siddharth Bharadwaj from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India News Hour.